great time. It's not face to face, it's all online. We're all in our homes, miles away. Loving like my family, what can I say? My crafting show is on, it's my time for me. Laughter, tips and tricks, this is what I need. We're here to have fun, we're all in the zone. When crafting with friends, you're never alone. Don't call or text me, it's about to begin. I've been patient, time for me to chime in. Comfy clothes on, feeling just fine. I'm busy right now, it's crafting show time. My crafting show is on, it's my time for me. Laughter, tips and tricks, this is what I need. We're here to have fun, we're all in the zone. When crafting with friends, you'll never...
Live from the Sunshine State in Miami, Florida, here is the Gifted Crafters Morning Show with Nancy.
Let's have a good time. Ooh, time to get our craft on. Ooh, time to have fun. Ooh, time to feel good.
Good morning, Gifted Crafters, and welcome to the Gifted Crafters Morning Show. Hello, hello out there. I see we've got people tuning in from quite a few places here. Alabama, Ohio, Maryland, Texas. Oh, we have some sun in Philly today. Yeah, well, I'm tuning in from Miami, Florida, and we're expecting some storms today. They said it's going to be a pretty stormy day, but man, it's been pretty hot, I can tell you, over here. Definitely has been hot, but we're expecting a lot of rain, so it's just the perfect day to be in the craft room, right? So that's awesome. Well, good morning. Good morning. I see everyone coming in. How are you? Alrighty, we've got some sun in Texas as well. We've got some sun in Maryland. Oh, there's my folks over here from Canada. Hello, welcome. Okay, I see everyone is going in here. Okay. Awesome, awesome. Alrighty, so I think it's starting to settle in. So good morning, everyone. If you are tuning in for the first time, my name is Nancy with GiftsHQ, and I host these daily live sessions, and we just do just about anything crafty, from sewing, knitting, crocheting, decoupage. I try to bring all types of different crafts, and we do live demos, and we do little projects, and we talk about all kinds of things that are going on together. We also have different segments to keep you in the know. So we give you some crafting news and some inspiration to help you along. So I hope I put a little bit of sparkle in your day and we can get things going. Alrighty, so if you have not already, go ahead and grab your favorite drink of whatever it is in the morning. I like to have a little bit of water to start my day off, and then I move over to my coffee after that. I am still in my water because Took me a bit to get out of bed today. I can tell you, I was a little tired today, but you know, we've got to get going, right? We all got to get to work. At least I do, right? I do actually have a day job that I do have to do. So I do this in the morning, get myself going, and then off to my day job I go, right? And then when I get back, I'm back into my crafting room. And I just love being with you guys. So good morning. Yes, Michigan's here also. Awesome. Alrighty, so go ahead and grab your favorite drink and get into your little cozy spot. And don't forget, because we also have a little food truck. And so that little food truck is going to be coming around the block here. And you can have anything you want. It's totally free. And the calories, there are none. So don't worry about it. You can have anything you want. We've got things from coffee, donuts, danishes, muffins, and all kinds of goodies. You can pick anything you want from that truck. You're not going to have to worry about anything at all, and you'll have a great time with it. And don't forget, we also have some stuff for our good little people out there that likes to do their little smoothies in the morning, like carrots and kale. So go ahead and make the line, no fighting, and grab your stuff and get ready to have some fun here. So I'm going to grab one little sip here. Okay. Oh, had to grab a long little sip there. Oh no, rain and thunder in San Antonio, Texas. Oh boy. Yeah. It's stormy, and it's been like on and off. It's going to be a day. So grab that umbrella and have that handy. Alrighty. So what are we doing today? So we started off yesterday with me showing you a little project that you can make, and they are just little kind of like granny squares that you can do with your embroidery machine. So for all of my embroiderers out there that love embroidery, here's a brand new item that came out. It was listed on an Etsy shop, and I believe someone put the link on our, if you're on our Facebook group, they put the link out there for us. So thank you so much for that. I didn't get around to doing that, so I really appreciate her doing that. And this is for the Etsy shop for, and I'll tell you her name because I don't want to botch this up. This is coming from, oh gosh, I thought I wrote it down. Lisa, and I get the two confused. It's not Lisa Shaw, it's Lisa Kaplan. Thank you. Lisa Kaplan. She's got a little Etsy shop, and she also has all kinds of designs, and this is one of the most recent ones, for putting it out there. So thank you. I believe it was Heather. Thank you so much for putting it on Facebook. So that is the link where you can purchase her designs. And I think it was just an absolute game changer. The fact that you can mimic something that looks like crochet, but you do it on your embroidery machine. And we're going to elaborate a little bit more on this today, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. Lisa Kaplan. Kaplan? Is that how you pronounce her name? It's not Kaplan, it's Kaplan? Okay. Thank you, Heather. I'm horrible. I'm like the worst person on names. I have to tell you that. My pronunciation sometimes goes whoop, out the window. It's like little squirrels coming in, right? But thank you. Yes. And please let me know if I say other things wrong. Correct me, please. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. So before we get into all of that, let's go into our little segment, because I do have some information to give you today, and we want to kind of get you guys all informed. So a little bit of some kind of sad news today, a little frustration. I know we've all dealt with the Joann's closing down, and now we've got the Big Four. This is the Big Four sewing patterns. Then these are brands that all of us kind of grew up with. Things like Simplicity, McCall's, Butterick, Vogue. These are all those sewing patterns that have been sold in the Joann's store for many, many years, right? So now we have learned that they have now been sold to a liquidation company. And they were part of a larger craft business that was owned by IG Design Group. But because, again, of the rising cost and the recent bankruptcy of Joann stores, they have sold off the American division last Friday. And that included the 4 big pattern companies that we all know and love. So this liquidation company is allegedly known for closing down and reselling businesses, and the future of these brands are now pretty uncertain. So it's kind of sad to hear that. There's no clear plan on what's going to happen next, and they've got a lot of folks kind of like feeling really nervous and heartbroken because, you know, again, these patterns have been around for like hundreds of years. So they've helped millions of people learn how to sew. And many of us kind of remember, you know, flipping through those really big catalogs in the stores, right? You pick out your pattern and then you go to the little drawer and you open it up and you grab your pattern, you know, and those were a lot of fun. But one other thing that these pattern companies have is these brands, they also owned, they owned the last pattern tissue paper printers in the US. So without them, it's going to become a lot harder and more expensive to get like paper sewing patterns in the future. So, you know, it's not just from the big 4, but it's also from those other designers too. Just one thing that's pretty clear, you know, our community is really strong, and although this may be an end to another era, we will continue to love sewing and just kind of move right along. So more to come on that. We'll see what's going to happen. Yeah, lots of boo, right? Like very disappointing on that. So we'll have to see what happens with that. Okay, so on a lighter note, like let's kind of go there. Let's go over to North Carolina. So near North Carolina this weekend, there's a quilt lover's dream that's going on, and it's happening at the Festival of Quilts in Fayetteville. I'm sorry. Don't know if I said that right. Okay. They've got 100 beautiful quilts that are going to be on display at the Freedom Christian Academy Sportsplex. And that is thanks to some really amazing people at the Tar Heel Quilters Guild. Now, the show is going to run from Friday, June 13th from 9 to 5 and Saturday, June 14th from 9 to 4. The tickets are $7 at the door, and kids 12 and under get in for free. Okay, so now they're going to have some quilts that are going to be judged, and they're going to have special awards like Best in Show, Best Use of Color, and they're going to be giving them ribbons and even some cash prizes. So that's pretty cool. And you can meet your local quilt designers, and they're going to have shops from 18 creative vendors. They're going to have raffles, little yummy snacks, and they even have some things for the non-quilters out there. So that should be a lot of fun. So go ahead and check that out. If you'd like some more info, go ahead and visit tarheelquilterguild.org, and you can get that information there. Alrighty, so that is what I have for you guys in our crafting news. Now, I just have a couple little things I wanted to say. I wanted to thank Wanda Haynes. She bought me some coffee. I'm sorry, Wanda Hines. She brought me some coffee, and I wanted to just say thank you. I really appreciate you, and I will be putting you up on my wall behind me. So thank you so much. I really appreciate you supporting the channel, and this really helps a lot. Trust me. Thank you so much. Awesome. Okay, so I'm going to put this right over here so I can pin that up later. And then one more thing I wanted to let you guys know about. So we've been doing the morning show for about a month now, and I wanted to kind of get some feedback from you guys. I wanted to find out, what do you want to see more of? More sewing, more embroidery, quilting. Maybe you want to see something else. I don't know, knitting. Maybe I can do crocheting. We can do so many other things, but I really want to hear that from you. What do you like? What do you not like? Are we doing too much of one thing and not another? I really need to know that. This channel is for you guys. I'm tailoring it for you. And so hearing feedback from you guys will be absolutely awesome, because I will understand and know what you guys would like to see more of. And then that will help me kind of reshape the show and get it more for you, so that way you get the content that you're looking for. So there is a feedback link below, and I will definitely be reading through those. They're totally anonymous. I'm not going to even look at whoever the name or anything is. I won't see any of that information. I just need to know, what do you want to see more of and what do you want to see less of? Yeah, so who knows? You know, please use the form to kind of get that information over to me so we can kind of reshape and get things going. Alrighty, so I think that was everything that we have here. You guys got your drinks, you've got your snacks, you're ready to go. So let's get going on the project. Okay, so one of the things that we were looking at yesterday, again, were these little embroidered granny squares. So I did go out, let me scoot this over here. I did go out, whoops, sorry about that. Okay, I went out yesterday and I made a bunch more. I did, for some reason, I changed the thread color, and I didn't mean to, but I did. So these three have one thread color, and this one doesn't. This one has a little bit darker of a blue. Not sure if you guys can even tell from the camera or not, but they are two different colors on here. So this is a little bit darker. Okay, so what I wanted to kind of do, I know we talked about these, how these are such a game changer, and we talked about, you know, being able to mimic the crochet using embroidery, but I wanted to kind of elaborate on this a little bit more. I wanted to kind of not just give you the ideas, but maybe show you something that you can do with it. And this is kind of something that I tend to do on my own. This is how I kind of look at things, and I do my little prototype of it, and I kind of play around with it. And I thought, you know what, maybe it's better for you to see how I kind of walk through that process, like my whole thought process when you are trying to create something new, something different, something that, you know, is not that you're not following a pattern, you're not following directions, you're just kind of figuring it out on your own. And this is how I kind of create through that, and then I kind of figure out what the directions should be and what I need to let people know if they want to recreate and duplicate something that I'm doing. So this is kind of my thought process on this and how I kind of put these things together. So we already talked about yesterday how you can go into Embrilliance and you can overlap these two, so that you'd get two squares together instead of just the one. So we already have a lot of that because all of these were overlapped in Embrilliance. This was just the first one that I stitched out, so it was just the one. So I kind of wish I had a little bit more single ones, but that's okay. We'll deal with that. But I wanted to kind of give you some ideas on what I would do to create something like this. So I have a bunch of little squares and I want to create something with it because I think these are going to be gorgeous, and I'm going to focus on just 3 for now. I could see all kinds of different things that can be made with this, and let me kind of walk you through my thought process. So when I see something like this, I'm thinking a little pouch, a little coin purse, a little bag even, right? And right away, my instinct kind of just wants to grab, let's say, these two here and put them together. And I can picture myself having some type of a fabric behind here, because remember, I did not change the bobbin out. So I don't have the pretty side of this crocheted item on the other side, right? Because I didn't change the bobbin out. Now, if you would have changed the bobbin, you would have both sides looking the same, which would be great. But I didn't. So I'm going to go ahead and use this and put maybe a piece of fabric behind it so that it covers up the holes and can be used as some type of a coin purse, right? So if you put these two together and line them up, because they're granny squares, right? You may notice that it may not line up 100%, because remember that we did use wash away, then we wet it and all of that. So it can distort it, and so you may consider blocking this again. And how do you block? Well, it's just basically taking your design, right, and spraying some water on it to get it wet. And then normally there's a block, and I have it at my mom's house, but there is a block that has these little prongs, these little metal prongs that you can adjust. And you just kind of put them on the corner, and it helps to stretch the fabric into the shape that you would like. Okay. And then once you do that, you leave that overnight, it'll dry. And then, you have the shape that you were looking for. And then I would take this as it is dry. I will go ahead and take this, and I have my little ironing board. So let me just do this as I talk about it. I would then kind of take my design, and I would want to give it a little press. So you do not want to iron on this directly. So if you have a little pressing cloth, use that on top. I have like a little piece of Teflon, so I'm going to go ahead and just use that. I would just put it on top, and then I will just press on here. Okay. It kind of heats it up. Right now it is very stiff. Some are a little bit stiffer than others because, depending how much of that water-soluble stabilizer you got off, it may be a little stiff still, because maybe you need to kind of wet it a little bit more. And that's totally fine, because I want it to be a little bit stiff, so I didn't take too much of it off. So now I have it here. I've got it, all nice and ironed and flat. And so now you look at the sizing that you get, and you're able to kind of line that up better. Okay, so that's what you do in terms of lining up, making sure that you block it by wetting it and leaving it overnight and stretching it out, and then give it a nice good press using a pressing cloth or a Teflon sheet, whatever you have on hand. Or you could just use a towel if you don't have anything else. Just put a little towel or a piece of cotton fabric right on top, iron right on top, and that should be fine. Okay. Then I would take this, and I would look at it as, me putting some fabric behind it. So if I put some fabric, look what that does. It just kind of lets the color of the fabric kind of come through where you have the little holes, right? And so it gives it a little bit of color on there. So depending what fabric you want to choose, if you want to choose a white fabric, a dark fabric, it's totally up to you, whatever you choose. And here's just with the Teflon sheet, you can see that the colors kind of come out. So what you'll want to do now is just kind of think, well, what do you want to use this for? So I'm thinking, if I put these two together right here, okay, I could form, let's say I sew this all the way around here, blocking this off. Okay, I could add a piece of fabric on the top and even add a zipper if I wanted to, or I can add a piece of fabric and put a little snap here, or I can just take these two and then add a third piece with the fabric behind it and add that on top to kind of serve as the flap. So you would have it as these two pieces together, and then this would be the flap. Now, again, I didn't change out the bobbin thread, so it'd be nice to have a little piece of fabric from the inside so you wouldn't see that, right? And it would also serve as giving it a little bit of color on the other side. I would sew this together here, and then that would serve as my flap, and I can just use it as a little coin purse. And so you would just, open that up, and this would open up, and you'd be able to get, your change or whatever it is you want to put in here. Okay, and then you can also secure it with a button or a little snap here on the end. So that's one thing that you can do. But I'm looking to see if we can make something just a little bit more simpler and using less squares. So let's take a look at the 3 here that we have. And what I'm thinking is taking these 3 and let's cut a piece of fabric, which I have here. I'm just going to cut a piece out, and we're just going to sew a piece of fabric behind this. And we're just going to make a little coin purse. That's all we're going to do. And let's see how that comes out. So I'm just going to take my little fabric here. I'm going to give it a quick little press. I don't need very much fabric, so I'm not going to iron the entire thing. But I do want to try to get some of the wrinkles out. Doesn't need to be perfect, but just a little bit of the press. Again, this is just my demo. So my demos don't come out perfect. I don't, I just kind of see, can it get done? Can we do this is all we're looking to achieve. Once I know that it can be done, then I will go back, attempt it again, and then I will start to do my tweaks. So I'm going to just line this up right on top, and I'm going to give myself a lot of leeway here. I'm going to grab my ruler, and I'm giving myself about 1 inch on each side. Just about. Actually, I'm going to do it this way. And then I'm going to grab my rotary cutter, and I'm just going to go ahead and cut this here. And I'm giving myself plenty of room on all sides because I'm not quite sure exactly how I'm going to do this or what I'm going to be doing. So I want to make sure that if that's the case, that I have enough space to be able to create, basically. So let's do that. Oops, I didn't cut it all the way through. Let me just grab a little bit more here. There we go. Doesn't need to be perfect. Okay. Got a little piece here. Okay, so we have plenty of fabric to do this. I'm just using some fabric that I had on hand, nothing special. I wouldn't use anything too expensive, just something to kind of get the creative juices flowing. Now, I was thinking ahead on this yesterday on how we could do this. And some of the things that came to mind was, what kind of stitch are you going to use? What kind of thread are you going to use? And a couple things came to mind that I just want to make note of. So, thread. You want to be able to sew this using some thread. Oh, and there she is. It's fun to see you get creative with these granny squares. I love a creative mind. Hello, Lisa. Thank you so much for joining. Lisa, I can't tell you how much I love these things, okay? Absolutely love them, love them, love them. I haven't done the octagon one yet. I did get that one too, but I haven't done that one yet. But, oh my gosh, I keep telling everybody, guys, this is the creator. She is the one that made these. Awesome, awesome, awesome. You are amazing. I was telling everyone what a game changer this is. Mimicking crochet with embroidery. You're brilliant. You are brilliant. This is amazing. Oh my gosh. I can't tell you how much when I saw this, I was jumping up and down. I just couldn't believe it. I was so excited. I had to tell everyone right away, you got to go get this. It was amazing. So yeah, so now what we're doing is kind of taking that and seeing what kind of projects we can make with this, okay? So, oh my gosh, thank you so much for making these. I mean, amazing, amazing. We were comparing it to, let me actually bring it over. Let's see, we were comparing this to my mom who has crocheted something for me. And we were talking about granny squares. And so we've got this, and then you came out with this, and it was just like, wow, like we were synced up. Somehow we were synced up. I don't know. But amazing, guys. She is the creator. Don't forget to check out her Etsy shop. Again, it is on our Facebook page, so please go ahead and look. The link is out there. Heather put it out there for us. So thank you, Heather. And, you know, guys, these are just so much fun. So much fun. You're going to love it. Absolutely going to love it. Okay, so let's get back to our little project here. So we've got our granny squares. Like I said, we overlap these two. So we've got these two together, and then we have the single one. So let's look at the threads, because there's some options here. So we want to sew these together. And what we want to do is figure out what kind of thread would be best to do this, because now you're going to sew pieces with the fabric behind it to bring out the colors, right? So if you do that and you use, let's say, a white thread, just note that white thread is going to show, and you can even see it on the camera as I lay it across. It will show. And depending on what fabric you pick as your background, you may or may not want that to be the case. So don't be afraid to experiment with different types of threads. This is just your regular 100% cotton thread, and it's in white, right? So I don't think I'm going to use that. I'm going to move on to something else. So then I started looking at rayon. Maybe rayon would be something great. This is sulky thread. This is a rayon, and this is a 40 weight thread. And so I've put it up against here. It absolutely is perfect with the blue that I selected. You will not even be able to see that. So this could be a contender. But you also have to think about what you're making with the project, right? So think about this. If this is going to be a little coin purse, there's going to be a lot of pulling and tugging to get it open and closed, and pulling change out and things like that. So you want to be using a thread that's really going to be able to withstand that type of movement, all the pulling, the tugging. Rayon is not going to be your choice, because rayon does not have the ability, although it is a synthetic thread, it doesn't have the ability to withstand that type of pull and tug. Okay, it's more like for decorative things or things like that. So although the color works out really great and well, it's not going to be able to be used for this project, because this project is going to be a little coin purse. So if we do all the pulling and the tugging, it will not withstand all of that, and your stitches will start to pop, and the project will just start to fall apart. So we don't want that to happen either. Same thing with the embroidery thread. Yes, I said embroidery thread. Although it is embroidery thread, you can sew with this thread as well. But it does have the same characteristics as the rayon. The rayon thread, the embroidery thread, are more for decorative stitching. So although, yes, you can sew it and it will look great, depending on what you're using this project for, it may start to fall apart. And so what's really recommended for any type of a project that has a lot of that pulling and tugging is a synthetic thread, because the natural threads like the cotton are not going to be able to hold, because cotton you can pull and break that easy. Did you guys see that? Super easy to just take a piece of thread and you can just pull on it and it will break right away. So imagine if you are going through your little coin purse and pulling it, your stitches are going to be popping just like this thread just broke, right? So you've got to keep that in mind in terms of what types of threads you're going to be using for your project, because you want to make sure that your threads are matching with the usage that you're going to have with the project. So be mindful of that. Look up your threads, see what would be the best for your type of project. Then, of course, you can match it up with the colors. And don't forget the bobbin. Remember, I did not change the bobbin on this, so we do have this other side not looking like the bobbin, but we should have changed the bobbin. It's just we were kind of rushing. We were too excited. So, but that's okay, because we're going to have the fabric behind it. So what we're going to do is I'm going to put the fabric behind this here. And I'm also, since I didn't have this granny square attached, I want to attach this granny square to these other two here. That's going to be my first step, is just completing the 3 and having them all lined up, right? Once I have sewn this together, I'm going to attach the fabric. And I'm going to bring that all the way around. Okay, so it's all going to have the fabric. On the inside, you're going to see fabric, and then on the outside, you'll see the fabric coming through from the granny squares. And then it's just a matter of giving it a fold. So folding it along here. Once we have this all sewed up, we're going to fold it here, and you're going to see this fold right here. So it's going to overlap. And let me just kind of move the fabric so you can see that a little better. So it will overlap like this. Imagine, guys, you can put a little button here on the center to kind of accent that. You can put a little snap if you wanted to. You can do that as well. And then when you open it up here, you're going to have fabric, and you'll have a nice little coin purse to kind of put things inside. So wouldn't that be cute? And a really nice little seller if you've got an Etsy shop, or if you've got some type of a craft fair coming up. Who would not love to have an adorable little coin purse that looks like a little crocheted item? Game changer. Love it. All right, so let's try to put this together really quick. I'm going to set these over to the side. Again, this is my demo, right? You guys are kind of working with me. This is what I go through on my thought process on how I bring things together. And this is how I just love to kind of create. So using these granny squares, we're going to make something really cool. Now, another thing I'm thinking of is the stitches. Well, what kinds of stitches should I use? I did kind of play around a little bit with my machine to figure out what should I use. Should I use a straight stitch, or should I use a zigzag stitch? There's plenty of other stitches. All the machines have tons of decorative stitches, so please play with them. But I went ahead and just did a little strip. This is all you got to do, guys. Grab a little piece of fabric and just play with your stitches. I've got zigzag on one side, and we've got another zigzag on the other, but it is super, super close. So I did play also with the stitch length on here. So lots of fun with that. And I think I'm going to go ahead and go with the zigzag stitch here. Why not? I think that will be a lot of fun. So again, first thing I'm going to do is let's get our little sew cam on here. See if I can adjust this, if you guys can see that. There we go. We've got our little sew cam. I'm going to go ahead and use this here. Let me just adjust it a little bit more. There we go. I think that works. Okay, so one thing I did, if I play with my little light, there we are. I went ahead and I selected a thread that I have here. It has blue color, and I did wind up the bobbin to be blue as well. So let's go ahead and pull these together. Now, these are not blocked, guys, because remember that my mom has my blocker. It is sitting in her house, so I did not block these. So I'm going to line these up as best as I can. Again, if you have a bigger hoop on your embroidery machine, you would have just used embrilliance to overlap the two and just put all 3 granny squares together. You wouldn't have to do the step that I'm doing now. But for those of you who do not have big hoops on their embroidery machine, the biggest I have is a 5x7. So I was only able to do 2 granny squares together in my 5x7 hoop. And so now I'm able to just kind of sew the third. So let me just grab my little sewing foot here, put that in place. And what I'm going to do is line this up as best as I can. And I'm going to bring down my foot here right in the middle. So my little the middle of my needle, let me grab my little pointer here. The middle here is right in between the two because I'm going to be using the zigzag stitch. So I'm going to be zigging and zagging across the two, hopefully grabbing each piece of the crocheted item. So remember, we have 2 items here. We're going to zig and zag all the way across until we get to the end here. So let's put these together as close as we can. You may give a little bit of pressure with your hands, and I'm just going to adjust just a tad there. There we go. And let's go ahead and do that. Now my stitch length, I'm going to use about a 3 on mine because you do want to use a construction stitch. But because we're zigging and zagging, I want to make sure that I'm able to reach both ends. So you can see from my sample here, some of these zigzag stitches are super tight. That's not going to work when we're trying to catch both granny squares. So you want to lengthen your stitch length and your stitch width, sorry, and you're going to want to make sure that you're zigging and zagging so that you can capture both pieces. So let's see how this works. I'm going to go ahead and move that up. There we go. Okay. Oh, so sorry, guys. Let me back up a second because instead of zigging and zagging, I was talking and talking and I forgot to set it for a zigzag stitch. So let me just backtrack on that. Sorry about that. Okay. No worries. It can be fixed. Let's go back again and let me set it to my zigzag stitch, which on the Brother HC 1850, I am using the number 4, which is a zigzag stitch. And so let's line this up again here, and I'm going to bring down the foot. Alrighty, and I think we're good to go. So let's see here. Let's adjust it to that. Okay. All right, here we go. And so you see it zigging and zagging across. And let's just double check here. I want to make sure that I am capturing that second granny square. And so I may back stitch a little bit here. And I'm going to try moving this just a little bit closer to the edge, maybe widening this just a little bit more. And we're going to try it once again. Again, making sure I'm zigging and zagging. I think that's a little better. And remember, guys, this is a demo. This is kind of what I go through when I'm thinking, what can I do with this? Okay. Alrighty, so we came to the end, so I'm going to raise my needle, lift up my presser foot, and let's cut these threads. And let's see how we did here. Let me just bring this back to the sew cam here so you guys can see here. We zigged and we zagged, and these are now well put together. And because I matched up my thread as best as I could with the color that I selected, you can barely see that stitch. Okay? So it's kind of hidden in there with the embroidery thread on there. Okay, so now we've got our 3 granny squares lined up. So I'm going to go ahead and just cut my threads here. Okay, so now that these are all lined up, what I want to do is attach my fabric to it. So normally we would do right sides together and we would sew it along and then we would turn it inside out. But these granny squares are quite small. So I don't have too much wiggle room to flip this inside out. So what I think I'm going to try and see if this works a little better is maybe I should just try to sew the fabrics with the fabric right side up and the crocheted granny squares with that right side up. So we're going to do wrong side of the crochet square facing the right side of the fabric and just kind of sew that all the way around, because we don't need to flip anything over if we do that. Like, this is just going to serve as the lining for the back of these crochet squares. So I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and just sew this all the way around. Now you're thinking, well, wait a minute, you've got way too much fabric here. But that's okay. I'm going to go ahead and leave it. And then you can either use some pinking shears to add a little bit of flair to it, or you can just cut it. Now, if you're not too crazy about that, we can do right sides together. But I'm going to have a hard time kind of turning it inside out with such a small space. And I know we don't have too much time. So I'm going to go ahead and try it this way, and I'm going to line it up here on the edge, and then I'm going to cut this side here. But knowing that most likely I will tell people to sew it right sides together. But to save ourselves some time, I'm going to do it this way, just so I can get through this project and let you guys go on your way. So let's do this. I'm going to go ahead and sew it this way. And I'm going to line this up as best as I can. Maybe use a couple of clips just to kind of hold it in place so it doesn't shift around too much on me. So I am going to just kind of put some clips here on the edges just to kind of hold the fabric and hold the crochet squares or embroidered crochet, right? Just kind of hold that in place. So yeah, let's give this a try. Again, totally a demo. So let's give this a try and see how it goes. Now I'm still going to, I can use this zigzag stitch or I can use a straight stitch. I think I'm going to switch over to a straight stitch, and I'm going to sew right on the inside. So right on this side here, on this end, right on the inside, just kind of going along this border right here. And I'm going to try doing that. Now, I'm going to reach some areas here where it's kind of open. So even if I sew it here, it's not really capturing anything. So I may just sew right along here. So these are the things you got to kind of think about. You're going to have, because this is mimicking crochet, you're going to have areas that have these holes. And so if you just sew, it's not really going to capture anything. So you know what? I'm going to go back to my thinking and say, no, we can't do a straight stitch here. We're going to have to do zigzag because we need to be able to capture something so that it clinches and can hold on to the fabric, right? We want to merge the two together. Okay, so let's do that. We'll stick with the zigzag stitch. I've already got it set up, and we're just going to continue that. So I'm going to line up my foot here. We're going to line it up right on that border. And we're going to sew right on there so that it captures the fabric as well as the crochet right here. So let's pull this off here. And we're going to give this a go. So let's see if this works. Kind of wondering if I should have gave myself just a little bit more fabric. So I might pull just a little. But let's see how it goes. Okay, here we go. So zigzagging along here. Now here's another thing we need to think about. This isn't just a straight piece of fabric that we are sewing. It does have a little bit of a curve, right? The edges are curved. You have this curve here that you got to think about. So this isn't straight. You can't just go straight. You're going to have to do the little curve and then come back out and do the second curve. So you'll have something like this, right? So we'll have to go ahead, sew down this way, and we'll have to go indent here into the curve and then come right back around. So you do have to do a little bit of turning on here. So keep that in mind because we're coming towards the edge here. So I'm going to turn my project just a little bit, grab a couple of stitches there, and then I'm going to, with the needle down, I'm going to raise my presser foot and I'm going to rotate it going the other way because now I want to capture this side and then just continue that. Then I'm going to kind of pause again and realign myself to be straight up once again. So we'll continue, and I'm going to take this clip off too. And we're going to continue down the line. So just keep going down. And we're going to kind of keep going. We're approaching the second curve. So once again, I'm going to scoot this over, do a couple stitches here on the curve, and then with the needle down, raise the presser foot and just move it around. Took off the third little clip, and then I'm just going to keep going. And then again, realign myself again. And let's just go down the line. Zigzagging all the way. Now we're getting towards the end. So once again, use your hand to make that turn. Put your hand down flat on the machine and just turn the project. You can slow down and just make sure that you don't get any puckering here. So just keep that flat. And then use this here. You can raise your presser foot if you kind of get off a little bit, and then just readjust again. And then here we go, right down the line. Now I notice when I go a little bit fast, it tends to kind of shift on me a little bit. So that's another thing to note. You can't sew too fast on this, or it can shift around. So it's better when you go a little bit slower. So there's another thing that you kind of notice all of these little things, and I make all these little mental notes in my head so that I know when I'm going to teach this, I need to kind of point these things out, right? So definitely tips on the turning, on the curves, you know, the speed of your machine, things like that. So again, lift this up. I'm going to readjust here. I'm going to lift this again and realign. And then just continue to go down the line. Now, one thing that I just came to my head, raw edges. If you don't want your raw edge to show, we talked about the pinking shears. You can also fold this underneath and have this underneath here so that you don't have that raw edge showing, right? So you can fold it in and have that. But again, this is a demo, so we're just putting this together quickly. So here we are, continuing to kind of go down the line, getting to that curve. I'm rotating a little bit here. I'm going to move this back over now, going the other way, and I'm just going to continue and rotate as I go. You can gain a little bit more speed when you're just going straight, but you do have to be careful. And then just make that little curve again. And curve it back. And then go back to straight again. Okay. Here we go with the curve. Use your hand, press it down, and make the curve. Slow it down. There we go. So we're coming around the very last piece. So we're going to go ahead and finish this up. Okay. And we're on this last curve. Okay, so I'm going to raise up my needle, lift up my presser foot, and I'm going to remove this. Okay, so the sewing part is done. Now, again, we're going to have raw edge showing because we didn't, fold it in, but you certainly can. And now we have a little bit of kind of like a decorative stitch. You can see the little zigzags and all the little curves and things. So we're ready to now just kind of cut this piece off and then make our little coin purse. And we've only got just a few minutes, so I'm going to try to speed through this a little bit here. I'm just going to use my rotary cutter. And again, I'm not too worried because this is just my prototype. I am not too worried about my raw edges showing. But when you want to do this with like full instructions and things, I would definitely, give options of either having the raw edge showing with maybe some pinking shears, doing that little zigzag on the ends, or I would just kind of explain how you can not have raw edges and then just kind of, pull those in and have a nice finished look on the ends. But again, this is just my demo. So let's just cut this piece off. And I can do this little turn here. So I just cut it off as close as I could just to kind of mimic what I'd like it to look like. So I have this in place. I've got the material behind it. Now I can go in and kind of use my scissors and get these little curves in here nice and neat. But again, this is my demo. All you need to do now is fold this over, lined up this raw edge, and then sew that in place. Okay, and so you would have your little coin purse that you could do. So we can kind of do this, and I can do another one for you tomorrow, and I'll do one that doesn't have the raw edge so you guys can have a comparison. And then tomorrow we can finish this up with some stitching here on the side. We'll put some decorative things on here, and I'll talk to you a little bit more about other things that you can do and other things you can make with these granny squares, because this is all about crocheting looking items that you can do with your embroidery machine. And I think that this is absolutely wonderful. Okay, so we're going to finish this up tomorrow because I see that we're kind of out of time, and I want us to get to our inspirational quote of the day. So let's do that segment, and we'll run through that real quick. Alrighty, guys, our inspirational quote of the day is, "Sewing is the art of believing in new possibilities." Isn't that amazing? And this is exactly what this is. New possibilities with so many things that you can do with just one design. And I think this is, again, a game changer. I absolutely love it. And I hope you guys do too. And try to make some projects and let me know what you guys come up with on our Facebook page. Okay, so it is coming on the hour, and I know that we've got Becky from Power Tools with Threads that's going to be coming on shortly, and we sure don't want to be late for that. So I will meet you there. Thank you guys all for tuning in. I really appreciate all the support you guys give me, and I hope you have a fantastic day. Thank you again for tuning in, and I hope to be crafting with you soon. Bye, everyone.
My crafting style. Hope I left you with a smile. By now, keep your mind and space clutter free. Hope your day is bright as can be. So long, my friends, till we craft once again. Bye now, stay crafting. See you tomorrow. So long, my friends, till we craft.